Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about climate. Today's presentation is about superstition and drought. In 2011, leading expert Andrew Dessler from Texas A&M University predicted that Texas was going to be hot and dry for the rest of the century. This is where he made his forecast during a very dry period, but since then Texas has gotten much wetter and is currently having their wettest two-year period on record. And as you can see, the trend in Texas precipitation since 1895 is that it's getting wetter and wetter. The US had a very bad drought in 1988, and at the time NASA's top expert warned that global warming was going to make drought in the US 5 or 10 times more likely moving forward into the future. But we're seeing the same thing as in Texas. The US is getting wetter and wetter, and the last 2 years have been the wettest two-year period on record. Less than a year ago, California Governor Jerry Brown and the New York Times warned about a California permanent drought. And earlier this year, California expert Peter Gleek gave the same warning. Their fears are baseless. California is having one of their wettest years on record, and the trend in California precipitation since 1895 is dead flat. Precipitation is not increasing in California, it's not decreasing in California. In 2012, the UK Environment Secretary and The Guardian warned of a permanent drought in the UK. A few weeks later, they were flooded. In 2008, Australia's top expert at the Bureau of Meteorology said that Australia was in a permanent drought. It wasn't long after that they were flooded. 40 years ago, climatologists blamed droughts and floods on global cooling, and the California drought was blamed on low Pacific Ocean temperatures. John Kerry and Barack Obama blamed the Syrian drought and war on global warming, but in 1933, authorities had a different story. They blamed the Syrian drought on yo-yos. The U.S. is getting wetter, but things haven't always been this good here. In 1934, nearly 80% of the United States was suffering from severe drought. If we go back further in time, we can see that drought is the normal state of affairs in California and the West. These red humps represent multi-century droughts prior to the year 1300. We've had some wet years recently, but as soon as we popped back into a drought, it was immediately blamed on humans and global warming. The Anasazi were driven out of the Southwest by a 75-year-long drought in the 13th century. Over the centuries, climate experts have sometimes blamed drought on global warming, sometimes on global cooling. But one common theme is that fixing the climate always requires sacrifice. Whether it's global warming, global cooling, or yo-yos, authorities are always going to blame you for the climate and use it as an excuse to extract your money. Please visit Toto on the web at realclimatescience.com. He's been pulling back the curtain on junk science for a long time.